Hello, witches! Grab your goat, grab some popcorn, grab a wand, and grab a drink because it is time for the Witches Movie Coven. Yes, witches, real witches, talking about witches in movies. My name is Patti Negri. I am one of your hosts. You might know me from The Witching Hour, television, bathroom walls across America. I'm the author of Dollcraft, A Witch's Guide to Magical Puppets, and I never remember to say that. Magical Puppets and Haunted Dolls, and Old World Magic for the Modern World, and a group book on intuition. But let me pass you on to some of my beautiful co-hosts. Let's start this time with Richard-Lael.
I am Richard-Lael. Richard-Lael is one name, not two names. If I were merely Richard, I'd be a... That's right. I am the gentleman psychic. I'm a psychic medium. Used to be a psychic small, but I gained some weight. You know those jokes. I'll get those out of the way. If you would like to sleep with me, you can go right over to mysterycontrol.com, wherever that is. Click that QR. You can sleep with me with my pillow. At some point, you might be able to get back in Patty's panties one more time. But you can be a bro witch. You can get some quotes. You can get our books. Jason has 10 of them. Heather Greene has several at least. You can get our books right down there. Lights, Camera, Witchcraft, right down there. Anyway, make sure you let the likes, the subscribes, all the comments. They help us to continue to give great programming for viewers like you.
Thank you very much. Now let's welcome her back because we've missed her for the last couple of weeks. The one and only Courtney Buckley.
That's me, Courtney Buckley. I am ghost bait on Scared and Alone. And if I can get her, I brought a friend for you guys to meet today. She's on my back. She's a very powerful witch. Hold on. She's a very powerful witch, and she's named after here she is. She's named after a very powerful witch. This is Gladys, named after Aunt Gladys, the Oscar award-winning witch from Weapons. And she has a lot of thoughts and opinions, and she watched the movie with me tonight and wanted to come here and talk about it. So she is my wand for the evening. And careful, because she hexes just like her mom. So
thank you very much. Well, we've lost Jason, so let's move on over to Heather.
Hi, I am Heather Greene. I'm the author of Lights, Camera, Witchcraft. It's a critical history of witchcraft and witches in American film and television. I am an editor at Llewellyn Worldwide, working with many of the authors that sometimes come on our show that are here and elsewhere. And I'm also a journalist in mainstream media covering all things occult and witchcraft. And I'm really happy our whole, as someone said in the chat, our whole original group Coven is here tonight. We're so happy to have Courtney back.
Yes, we are so glad. And speaking of back, he is back, Jason Mankey.
Richard-Lael already introduces me now. 10 books, hogging a shelf at your local witch bookstore. And that's pretty much all I do other than take care of my cats and my wife. I write books.
Beautiful. Anyway, this week's movie, The Bride, the 2026 movie, The Bride. Hopefully you guys all watched it. We did. And in case you didn't, just in case you didn't, Richard-Lael, do you have an unbiased synopsis of this?
I have something to tell you. If this is the bride, I want a divorce. The only witch in this film was which accent she was going to use badly. Okay, here's the story about a little lady. She had hair of gold. Anyway, never mind. So here's the story about this young woman in 1936 that is bored, and she gets possessed by the spirit of a very cogny, very rough Mary Shelley, the Mary Shelley. And then in her possession, she begins the call-out doctrine of saying, you did this to these people and you did this to those people. And she does so to the commissioner, who's also a mob boss. So she is taken out back, and as mobsters do with young ladies who know too much, they get silenced in a way that only mobsters can do, by being shoved downstairs. in their penthouse in New York City. I'm not saying that about anyone else named Ivana. Anyway,
You heard it here first, folks.
So Ida, not Ivana, falls down the stairs, and she breaks her neck, and she is pronounced unalive, much like this movie, Unalive. Meanwhile, Frank, not the monster, he doesn't like that, but Frankenstein was his father's name, so he is now Frank, meets this mad scientist who has reanimated dead cats, which is more animation. So she has studied on how to learn people, things, beings back, and the doctor, Frank has decided that he wants carnal pleasures. We'll just put it that way. He wants carnal pleasures because he's 100 years old and apparently hasn't done anything in 100 years. That's fine. I'm not going to go there. Anyway, he sort of has this fetishization of one of the talkie movie stars from the 1930s. And he's obsessed with the idea of this man who had polio and had one foot that was shorter and became a great dancer, because obviously Frank is Putin on the Ritz. Anyway, he asks for a wife, and the doctor, of course, is trying to be the moral voice, and she says, no, there is that, I'm not going to go murder someone. We're not going to take it from the morgue. No medical bodies. So they find the pretty girl who is possessed by Mary Shelley, and then for the rest of the film, she's kind of back and forth between Mary Shelley and Ida, and then they end up by going across country like Bonnie and Clyde on a crime spree. And they're doing a mosh pit in the 1930s. I don't know. I watched it at full, like 3 times the speed, because it made it at least bearable. They sounded like chipmunks. In the end, the mob boss wants them to get murdered, wants this woman to be unalived again. But as it turns out, she has come back to the doctor. The police come in and they murder Frank and they murder her, and then they are reanimated as the police leave. And then in the final scene, the commissioner gets his by zombies, which are, I don't know. Why are there zombies? None of it makes sense. If you want a more unbiased synopsis, go to Google. I don't know. I don't know. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Now that we completely understand the movie, perhaps there's just a wee little bit more that Heather can tell us, maybe 5 things that we also don't know.
Yeah, before I do that, do you guys mind if I just take a little detour here?
Please.
I watched, and this is kind of related a little bit. So I watched a show yesterday called The 50 Worst Films Ever Made. I don't know if you guys have seen this. It's on a couple of the streaming stages. It just happened to come on. I'm like, I got to watch this. So I was curious to see the films, because what fun could that, this is the best part of being in love with films, is seeing the worst films. And I was curious to see if any of the films that we have ever reviewed on the show were on the list, on this person's list. One.
There are some.
One. Only one. And so if you've seen the TV show, don't say anything. If you have not seen the TV show, then what do you think that one film was? We've done a lot of movies. Courtney, of course,
we had to do it, but because
we've reviewed it. We've reviewed it.
Then not The Witch That Came from the Sea, but was that on there?
No, it was not. It was. I would have told you that for sure. It's a lot of anyone in the chat room. Any of the films? Only one film that we have reviewed live here on the Witches Movie.
I know it's not. It's definitely not The Killing Tree. We know that. It's definitely not.
Some of the movies we've reviewed are so marginal; they're on no lists at all.
Well, I'll make it easier. The movie they didn't have any movies on the list for some bizarre reason, biggest criticism past 1990. So all the movies that this TV show said were the worst were before 1990. I'll give you another second then.
Oh, every single one from the 70s was on the list.
There were a bunch, but no. Okay, I'm going to
Highlander.
let it go because we have to get back to the movie, but
Highlander.
it was, what was that?
Highlander.
Not Highlander. It was
No.
Xanadu. Xanadu.
Oh,
Okay.
no!
I would not have guessed that was one of the worst films.
No, I would. I would.
It's
No,
bad.
the
It's
ELO
bad.
soundtrack alone saves it. The soundtrack saves it.
Yeah.
Just
So-
calling these
And I
sound-
don't.
Yeah.
Well, now let's get on
Don't.
to let's move on to another film that we might make that list one day in some people's opinions, because I'm not giving mine right now. So it's a 2026 film. So this is a brand new film, and it was directed and written by Maggie Gyllenhaal, and I'll talk about her in a second. Budget was, let me see, 80 million, and it has not made it back. It was a flop at the box office. It opened first in London and here, and then again flopped. It grossed so far to date only 24 million. So that's not doing too well. But it's only been out for a few months, I think. So who knows? So number 2, Maggie Gyllenhaal. You may recognize her as an actress. This is her second film that she's written and directed. The first one was Brother of Jake. She did win some awards for it and some notoriety. I'm sorry, Brother Jake. What am I reading? Lost Daughter is the film's name. 2021. And she did, again, get some awards for that. She got, I think, Best Adapted Screenplay in the Academy Awards. But she's an actress before becoming a writer and a director. She was in Donnie Darko. I'm reading some of these off. Riding in Cars with Boys, Dark Knight, and a movie, if you have not seen, called Hysteria, which is where I oddly enough, recognized her from. If you have not seen Hysteria, I recommend it to everybody. Both her brother and her husband were both in this film, and we'll see them again. That was Jake and Peter. They're in this. So let's talk about the cast. Recognizable faces. Jessie Buckley is, of course, the main character. She plays the dual characters of Ida and Mary Shelley. She is, of course, the Academy Award-winning actress in Hamnet. She was also in a great film called Wicked Little Letters. If you have not seen that, highly recommend it. It's so much fun to watch. It's a British film. She was also in Judy, The Courier, and The Lost Daughter. So she's been in a bunch of stuff. Very recognizable face. There they are. Christian Bale, of course, another recognizable character. We've seen him here in a review of Pale Blue Eye. I think we did that this year. He started long time ago with Empire of the Sun in 1987. He was in Newsies, Midsummer Night Dream. We saw him in that as well. Dark Knight, more recently Ford versus Ferrari, and of course he plays Brett. What's the character's name? I can't remember. Brett, I believe, in American Psycho. So those are that was the writer's name. I can't remember what the character's name is. We also have Annette Bening. She was big face back in the 90s. She was in American President, Bugsy, American Beauty, of course, and there she is right there, Annette Bening. The brother of the writer and director, Jake Gyllenhaal, he plays the actor that Frank loves. There he is. You've seen him in City Slickers, Donnie Darko, Brokeback Mountain. He got a nomination for Academy Award and for that, Spider-Man Far From Home. So he's been in a bunch of stuff. And her husband, Peter Sarsgaard, he was in Green Lantern, The Batman, Dead Man Walking. He's been a bunch of stuff. He plays the cop. There he is. And of course, Penelope Cruz, also an award-winning actress. Started as a child actor. She's been in a huge amount of things, and you can look her up. I don't think we've seen her here yet in any films that I can think of. So let's go to number 4. I'm going to just move on to the origin of this story. Of course, the bride is mentioned in the original story, or at least I want a bride, but they really don't see a bride. You don't get that piece until the movie. 1935, Bride of Frankenstein, directed by James Whale. And do we have a picture? There it is. This is the classic Bride of Frankenstein. This is the one that gets all the awards that everyone needs to watch. That's the bride. That's the bride that started it all as far as the character herself. There she is. Oddly enough, that actress is Elsa Lanchester, and we have seen her in Bell Book and Candle. She was Queenie, the aunt in Bell Book and Candle. Same actress did that, both parts. So, of course, that figure right there, the hair, the costume, everything, but mostly the hair itself become what people recognize the Bride of Frankenstein to be. And so you'll see that in the Munsters, Young Frankenstein, Rocky Horror Picture Show, The Bride of Chucky. Apparently, I have not seen it. Simpsons, you see it in so many places. You kind of see it here with the fluffy blonde hair, but that shock of white, the big fluffy hair, that movie started the concept of the Bride of Frankenstein, the visual, if nothing else. Classic. So there have been a bunch of other movies since then. This is number 5 that have had the bride in it. So I'm going to name a few of them off. Aside from the original, which we just saw, we have Frankenstein Created Women, Frankenstein Created Woman, 1967, Lady Frankenstein in 1971. Frankenstein, The True Story, a TV movie, 1973, had the bride in it. She was there. Flesh for Frankenstein was a Warhol film, 1973. These are definitely 1970s titles. In the 80s, there was The Bride that had Jennifer Beals as the bride and Sting as the doctor. There you go. There it is. I don't remember ever seeing that, honestly. And you might even say adjacent to that would be the 1980s runaway film with young people everywhere, Weird Science, 1985. It wasn't quite The Bride, but it kind of really was The Bride a little bit. Frankenstein, of course, Unbound. And let's see, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein in 1994 that had Helena Bonham Carter in it and Robert De Niro and Kenneth Branagh. I don't remember seeing that one either. I probably did. Bride of Reanimator. And of course, we've seen the concept of the bride again, the image of the bride in things like Corpse Bride, Frankenweenie, and even Nightmare Before Christmas. You have Sally, who is kind of like the bride. So this idea of, there she is, the idea of this bride, this movie, and this concept that Mary Shelley had, and then of course 100 years later the movie, really, really have taken off and are punctuating our movies across the decades.
I would
That's
like
all
to
I have for
add
you.
one more movie to that list of appearances. Frankenhooker.
There's probably so many. And that's a good ad. I'm going to put it on the list.
And if you like superhero stuff, the Bride of Frankenstein shows up in Creature Commandos, which was a DC Universe streaming show on HBO Max. And she's the most competent and cool character on that whole cartoon, which is really, really good. And I highly, highly recommend it. If you like James Gunn stuff, you'll love Creature Commandos.
Cool.
She
Yeah,
also
see,
appears,
Creature Commandos is awesome in the comments. Yes.
she also
A
appears.
terrifying tale of sluts and bolts is what that just said on top. I'm
Yeah.
losing my mind.
So the one thing I didn't say, just really briefly, and then I'll let go of the microphone, is that right now we're seeing a really rise in popularity of original horror. Not just gothic horror, but original classic horror. So that's why we've seen Dracula. We keep seeing these. I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing, if we see another remake of American Werewolf or something like that. I mean, they're looking for these classic horror monsters right now, and we're seeing it, especially with the success of the Dracula, the recent Dracula or Nosferatu, but even more so Frankenstein. So you're going to see a lot of this, and this is sort of the new horror trend right now, is this classic horror.
There is a reason behind that, though. So if you look into when they came out in the 1930s, there was income inequality, there was the Great Depression, there was the Dust Bowl, and people turned to horror for comfort because that horror on the screen took away the horror that they dealt with. So there is a reason that 100 years later we're seeing those same monsters make a resurgence.
And that's exactly right, just from my perspective, because that's what I study. That's exactly what I studied in a book. Why are there trends? Why are witches popular at this particular time? And it's not only, the comfort of horror, but horror also allows us to negotiate fears in a safe space that we feel in society. And it's a reflection of those fears and pushing us, enticing us in. It's also revolting us. So it's a really interesting, horror is such an important genre to understand our condition in society. So that's just my film person saying it, but is very, very true. And you can see that specifically in witchcraft films that are horror and what's that's negotiating, but definitely monsters, these fear of these monsters, especially Frankenstein, the fear of being put together, not being yourself. Are you yourself? And being pushed into pieces. And then this, of course, this version is a whole different conversation culturally and socially, but we'll get there, I'm sure, at some point. But yes, there is a reason. That's my point.
That's probably the same reason, just like when the real times get weird, conspiracy theories have to get bigger and weirder too. If real life is weird, they have to be that much more over the top and weird. So same balancing act, I guess.
Yeah. Comes in cycles.
Yes. Who wants to start? Nobody. I didn't fall asleep. I will go there. My thing, because I'm always watching it late at night after a really long day, after a really long weekend, and my head was tilted a lot. I was confused a lot, more than a lot. It's like, should I have been high? No, that would not have helped. A lot of rage. I just kept trying to figure out if to play that part, how, especially the Ida Mary Shelley part, how hard that must have been. Actually, I mean, just the dialogue alone and the commitment to it and everything, it would take an actress to commit to that. So there was many things about it I actually did appreciate, the feminine rage, that kind of stuff. It just, something went wrong in the mix.
They tried to be Cruella DeVille. They tried to be young Frankenstein. They tried to be classic horror. They tried to be Bonnie and Clyde. They tried to be film noir. They were all of these things that they were trying, and they failed at every one of them. That's
I
my
got a really natural born killers vibe from this movie. And again, it wasn't in a good way. It was just another thing that they kind of threw at the wall and tried to make stick to this movie.
Yeah, I'm going to share some of my feminine rage. I did not finish this movie on purpose because I was filled with feminine rage. I was so excited for this movie because we all know I go to the theater a lot. So I love the previews. And the preview for this movie was so awesome and so badass. And I was so excited for it. And then I didn't end up seeing it in the theater. And I'm glad that I didn't after tonight. When it started, I thought it was really very cool, like very interesting to look at, very cinematic. I love all the actors that are in it. But if I have to hear another conversation about, like, on the topic of how men use women's bodies, or the male loneliness epidemic that even Frankenstein's monster is suffering from, I will lose my mind. And this is probably because I was very sensitive to it, because I just saw another movie yesterday, Obsession, which had the same conversation and was very triggering. This movie to me was like, I'm just so tired. I'm so tired. I go exactly like you guys were just talking about. I go to the movies. I watch horror to escape the horror that is real life. And as a woman, I'm so sick of this conversation. I know it's important to have, and I'm sure, because I didn't finish the movie, I'm sure that I know the direction that it took, and that we reclaimed ourselves, and we did all that. It's to some degree, whatever, or we're killing people because we're angry, like that's fine, whatever. I wanted it to be something different, I think, and I wasn't mentally prepared for the assault scenes in the beginning either, that like I didn't need to see. But like, you know, as a woman, I was not raised to understand what like safe, loving relationships looked like. I was raised to learn how to walk through a parking lot with keys in my fingers so that I could protect myself. And I just am so sick. I go to the movies to escape. I don't want to talk about it there anymore. I want to talk about it everywhere else because it's important to talk about. But it just, I just couldn't. I could not continue on. So there's my take on it. Gladys was upset. She turned all kinds of colors and she said, turn this off and I don't want to watch it anymore. So there you have it. But I'm sorry. I feel like I'm a broken record and at the same time an enigma, because I do love a strong, independent woman who, you know, gets what she wants and does what she wants. And I see her in that character, like the scene in the movie theater when the man was, you know, again, forcing himself on a woman, and she stood up for her and said, you know, if you want to, you can, like, I've heard it can be fun, but she said no. Which is great. But I just don't. I just want to break. It's like that's my everyday life when I step outside. You know, it's just I just want to break. So,
all right.
I am not a fan of movies that take real historical people and do weird things to them, especially historical people who were trailblazers. Mary Shelley basically invents the genre of science fiction. And she wrote many more novels than Frankenstein, too. And to do that in the 19th century and at the beginning of the 19th century, as a woman, is a very, very big deal. And all of a sudden, she's in hell or wherever she is, and she's going to take over a body and then go crazy and ruin someone else's life, which is basically what her ghost does. And I don't know, like immediately I was turned off by that. If we had gotten a woman who comes back to life without Mary Shelley as the ghost in the shell, maybe I would have enjoyed this movie more. But boy, I really, 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 really hated the whole Mary Shelley part to this.
Thank you.
Really,
really, there was a lot of really,
really,
really. Richard-Lael.
Well, I hated every second of it, and so I put it on fast speed. I was about a quarter, maybe closer to halfway through, and then I looked and I realized how much longer I had to watch this monster of a film, and I thought, okay, I'm going to put it on fast speed, and then I wanted my money back. And I wanted the hour that I spent watching it, because again, it was on triple the speed. But I will tell you, my favorite Bride of Frankenstein, beyond Ilsa Lancaster, who is also on Mary Poppins as the maid. My other favorite is, of course, Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yes.
Love it. Love that. I would talk all day about the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Great music. I will say one thing that I do love about this film is that they mentioned and sang a little of Marlene Dietrich. That much, but it was a little. And Marlene Dietrich is one of those trailblazing women like Mary Shelley. She was openly bisexual. She wore men's clothing, and she she didn't go back to Germany, even though the mustache fellow wanted to name a Mercedes-Benz after her. In fact, the 1936 Marlene was named after Marlene Dietrich. And she said, no, I will not. So she did not go back to Germany. And in fact, she ended up by living in New York. And then she had a son who was openly gay as well. So there was a little love of that. I did love the thought of Marlene Dietrich.
Yeah. It was pretty. The film was pretty. Some of the sets and things, the coloring and set. Again, confused, but it was pretty. It was pretty. And weirdest love story, if it was a love story, yeah, I'm just still confused. It's really, I think that's why none of us, I mean, we're talking, but not talking as much as we usually do.
Well, I have something to say actually, because I don't think I was on the episode that we reviewed it, but the Frankenstein movie that just came out on Netflix. I was a hysterical mess because I thought that was beautiful and it was sad. And that loneliness for him is what I think it should have been, which was like not knowing who you are and not having a family and like just wanting to find your space in the world. And that was beautiful. I mean, terribly sad, but beautiful. And I felt things for that. This movie was like, my Richard-Lael needs attention, and so let's build a doll. And I know that's, I mean, it was more than that supposedly, but like that's how it came across. Even if that's not how they intended it, to me, watching it, consuming it, that's how it came across. So within 5 minutes, I was like, I'm not interested in this at all, because there was no. Like there was like, oh, you must be 100 years old. And he was like, oh yeah, great. And I want carnal pleasure. Okay. Like this, that's it. But I just wanted to say too, really quick, Tabitha said Mary Shelley was oppressed by men, though. I see Maggie giving her a voice, which is the important, like I get that it's important to talk about. I just didn't, I wanted to escape and not have to have this conversation again. So
I also found every acting choice by Christian Bale befuddling, confusing. You know, the voice, what I thought was terrible. Pretty much everything about his Frankenstein I just did not like. Certainly you couldn't have any sympathy with him. There was nothing sympathetic about the character. And that's really, to me, the magic of Frankenstein. When you sympathize with Frankenstein, when Boris Karloff throws the little girl in the well because you throw pretty things in the well, that is a deep something to think about. I didn't find the deep things to think about here.
Also, speaking of Frankenstein, when what was his name? Not Boris Karloff. Boris Karloff. Boris Karloff was his name. Boris Karloff in the 1930s, when he played Frankenstein, he was so terrifying. The makeup was so grueling. It would be 8 hours in makeup every single day. So he would go home and sleep as Frankenstein in all of that. And then one day he was coming home from the studio and was pulled over by a police officer who was terrified because it's not the 30s. What are you going to do? There's a flat head. Though I would still feel a little bit sorry for him. If you see somebody who is like that, you might feel a little sorry for them. But even this Christian Bale character, he didn't look that bad. Like,
yes,
the maid comes in and goes, ah! But he didn't look like he didn't look like he was sewn together.
That was the complaint over the recent Frankenstein. He was too pretty.
We were watching this movie though, and Ari's like, he just looks like Christian Bale.
Yeah,
like he wasn't terrifying. Like the screaming was completely out of bounds. He was way too handsome, really. Just had some scars. You go to the right goth club, chicks dig that, let me tell you.
Well, that was the recent film's complaint again, was that the Frankenstein was too pretty. I don't think Christian Bale was quite as pretty as the recent Frankenstein, but and I didn't have a problem with the recent depiction. This movie was, in my opinion, it's weird. I feel a complicated response to it, just watching it as a woman. I was like, it was similar to Courtney in that, okay, I thought I didn't have a problem with the Mary Shelley thing, Jason. That didn't bother me. Creative choice. But I liked the kind of concept that they were going for when she first came on and said, I didn't get to be something. I didn't get to do, because of the oppression of women back in her time. I didn't get to tell, and it was kind of allegorical. I didn't get to tell the story I wanted to tell. Not so much the Bride of Frankenstein, but I didn't get to tell my story. I didn't get to live the life I wanted to live. Loved that idea. Loved that it was going to go through the Bride of Frankenstein. Kind of was with it, like this is going to be. But then it took a hammer and hit it over the head over and over, and it spent so much time. It's one of my biggest complaints with movies is when they tell you their point over and over and over. When they tell you, when the point of the movie, this big, profound message that the movie has, becomes more important than the story they're telling. And that's kind of what I felt like. I knew what the point was. I get it. They were doing the whole Me Too movement thing with the thing, and they're doing everything, and she consistently is getting attacked. And by the middle of the movie, I'm like, okay, I got the message, but it's like neon, like flashing. And the rage that she feels and the rage that Mary Shelley feels is real. Women, that's why you could not turn it off. Well, you had to turn it off. It's real. It's a real thing. And for those who have not experienced it, walking down the street as a woman in like New York City, and you hear whistling, like it becomes like you walk a certain way. You learn to walk a certain way, and you learn, like my friend said to me in college, walk big. Walk big. We should be able to walk across a campus without worrying about being attacked or having to worry, get a male friend to come with you. That shouldn't be. So,
and that also doesn't even help half of the time. It doesn't put a stop to it.
No, and so you live with this fear, and you have it your whole life. It's what you're taught. And this movie, like I was visibly irritated after this movie, not at the movie, but visibly, I was irritated, and it's not the story I wanted her to tell. I mean, she could tell that story, but not have to tell it in such a harrowing and forceful way. But then, then again, maybe that's the problem. I kept thinking, maybe the problem is we don't talk about these things to ourselves, amongst ourselves, as well as to the world in a forceful, raw way, the way this movie did. But as a movie, it was, again, I agree with you guys. It was all over the place. It really didn't know where to land with its analogies and pieces and creative choices. It just had a lot of creative choices in it. And I think if she had slowed down, simplified, and spent time on the story and let the message sort of emanate out of the story, it would have been a lot stronger. So good luck to her on her third one. There were some beautiful visuals, and I love Christian Bale, and I love I get her name, the main character,
Jessie Buckley.
Yes, I should know that, Jessie Buckley. I love both of them as actors, so I was very excited to have them in here, but unfortunately not one of their strongest. Maybe she was pretty good, but not one of the strongest films for them.
I think while listening to you talk about that and explain your feelings about it, I feel like solidified for me maybe what it was that I was so upset about. And I think you're right with the way that they told the story, with it hammering you over the head. And I didn't get all the way through it, but it was, even the part that I got through was like that. And I had to turn it off. And it almost, I don't know if this is the right word, but it almost felt exploitative. Like the people that need to be mad about this, the people who can do something about this, are not the people who are going to be getting mad about it. The people who are constantly experiencing this are the people that are getting feeling those feelings about it. So it just feels like, let's sell some tickets by having an angry woman. Like, and it's just, we should be angry. Absolutely, we should be angry. But it felt like it was exploiting that more than anything else. More than it was helping, it felt like it was exploiting it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what made me so upset about it.
I just add in someone made a comment about Bonnie and Clyde. I think it could have been a brilliant if they had stuck to that kind of concept and done that as the love story, and kind of, they wanted to make Frank in this case sympathetic because he was the good guy who didn't beat the woman, but it just wasn't strong enough, and I think if they had done a fun Bonnie and Clyde, right, if they had picked a creative direction for the story, as well as the pieces put together, the whole young Frankenstein dancing bit, they throw that in here, it just, and all of a sudden I was in Footloose for a second there. What was going on? So I think there was too many, like I said, too many creative choices distracting us to tell the story, and then pounding us over the head. Even the nurse had the thing at the end. Yeah. If you notice. Yeah. So it's like, okay, we get it.
Yeah.
Now I'm angry, and I literally, as soon as I finished the movie, finished my work, went out and I took a long walk. I do that every afternoon. I called Ben. He goes, "What's wrong?" And I just said, "I'm not in a good mood, and this is wrong, and this is wrong." And he's like, "Okay, see you soon. I'm leaving work." So yes, I had the same response.
It was just. Go on.
Oh, no. I just thought there was a good movie buried in here somewhere, but the choices didn't let it come together. One of the things that I thought was really interesting that wasn't explored was the idea that women were mimicking the bride, and you only see like maybe 2 scenes of that, really. There's kind of a newsreel in the middle, and then it's sort of the thing at the end of the film where they kill the mob boss. And that is something I really would have liked to have seen explored. But it reminded me of American Horror Story Coven, where they throw things out and then instantly forget that they've thrown something out, and you're wondering about this dangling plot idea, and there's no payoff for it. And I felt like that was one of the things there really wasn't a whole lot of payoff for.
Yeah.
It was as disjointed as her neck and legs.
But I think that's a perfect example, Jason, of a piece of the film that is telling us something, but not part of the story. And having that plot point in was really interesting. Like you said, they could have explored it, but then just having it flash up is a key cue for the audience to say, it's in the Me Too movement. Everybody's following, women are getting enraged, and then they leave it because that's another way to tell us the theme. That's telling us the theme and not integrating, like you said, exploring that as a story point, which is frustrating. Okay, I'm getting angry here, guys. I'm going to start complaining about my life.
And it streams this Friday on HBO. We couldn't have waited another 5 days, so I wouldn't have had to pay for this thing. Ugh.
Oh, now I'm feeling the feminine rage. Now.
Okay, so it was just too many movies in one, and they didn't know what kind of, for part of it. Too many appointments, too many movies. But on a whole different thing, it was, not that it wasn't a great I liked seeing Annette Bening in a whole different role. I've never seen her older like that. I just remember all those like 80s and 90s films being so much. I really actually enjoyed watching her be this weird doctor.
I like seeing Annette Bening, and I like seeing Penelope Cruz, because both of them are over 50, so you don't see them in Hollywood anymore because of the way Hollywood treats women. And that was exciting that they were in the movie. I just sometimes wish, things would have been more explored. Penelope Cruz's detective character was interesting in that she was the true detective and not the idiot guy with her, but it was only sort of told around the margins. It felt like a missed opportunity there. But this movie, I think, is full of missed opportunities. And Melissa, I hope that we are still friends after tonight's show, because clearly you are in love with this film.
But I feel like too, like to Melissa's point, she was saying that there's a lot of stuff that like people missed, and that if they didn't get it, it didn't click or whatever. And I love movies like that, and I love rewatching movies like that so that I can learn the things that I missed, and I can watch it and I can let it click. This movie, because of the way it started, I didn't care. I don't care about it. Like that's the problem for me. I just don't want. I don't care what they were, all the things that they put in, because it made me not care. Like it pushed that on me. I don't know. And it was beautiful. Like I would have loved anything else if they could have just dubbed it with other words and an entirely new plotline, and it looked the way it looked with all these same actors, I probably would have eaten it up. But I couldn't.
Overstuffed. It was an overstuffed movie. On that note, do we have any quotes for the part of the movie you did watch, Courtney?
I do. Yeah, I have two. And one of them I actually really like, and I feel like we should be using regularly on the show. But the first one I thought was very, very gothically beautiful. And it caught my attention, and I paused the movie and I wrote it down. She said, I think it was when she was Mary Shelley, she said, I'm the canary, gagged for decades, but the dead know all the dirty stories. Anyone up for a song?
Yep.
And I thought that was beautiful. And then the one that I feel like we should be saying every week, maybe, is Darlings, Be Warned, a sequel is coming. Those are my quotes.
I also like the other one, but I didn't memorize. So I did but I'd really rather not. It was obviously repeated and over repeated the Mary Shelley line that it worked for me.
I mean, I'd really rather not ever have to talk about this movie again. So
they hinted at a sequel at the end. That was perhaps the most horrifying moment of the whole thing for me, because I didn't want to do this again. But at the end, you see their hands are twitching and intertwined. And yes, that was quite the groan in my house.
You had to know that was coming.
They hinted at a sequel in the beginning. That was what they said, you know? So that was what I thought too. I knew what they were actually talking about, but then I was like, isn't that a clever way to tell us that you're going to do this more? Unfortunately.
Well, if the movie doesn't make back enough, they're not going to do it more.
Well,
but it could become a cult film.
I don't think it'll come. No, I don't think it'll be a cult
film.
Hey,
odder things have happened. Ouija Shark 2.
Ouija Shark 2 is better than Ouija Shark
1. Hammerhead.
When your original movie has a budget of $50, it's not hard to get back your production budget. This, as you said earlier, had a budget of like $80 to $90 million.
Yes.
Very different.
I think I am the reason why Ouija Shark and Ouija Shark 2 separately made their budgets back, if I'm being honest.
Executive producer of Velocipaster.
If my name's not on one of these at some point, I'm not doing it right. So
Courtney, the quote you did at the beginning, the dead know all the secrets. I wrote that one down too. It's somewhere on my desk. I love that concept.
Yeah, it was just and the canary, because it was like, you know, there was so many levels to that, because what it hit for me first was not even like a canary singing a song or a canary in a cage. It was like the canary that you bring down to the coal mines. Mm-hmm. And like, I don't know, it struck me. I listened to it like 3 times. I reversed it and listened to it like 3 times while I was writing it down, and it just was beautiful.
Thank you.
Just like a lot of things in this movie, except for the entire movie. So
there was a lot of beautiful and the grotesque.
A lot.
And yeah.
There's so many good pieces in this. Yeah. It just wasn't put together exactly right.
But I didn't fall asleep.
I slammed my computer shut. I didn't just gently close it. I slammed it.
Jason, do we have a Mankey movie moment minute?
We do. And we have to go back to last week for a little bit of this. So last week, our movie was Chocolat, a movie I started watching Tuesday night, right as my wife was getting ready for bed. Within a few minutes of that movie starting, my wife, Ari, comes out of the bathroom where she was brushing her teeth, and she comes into our living room, and she goes, "This must be your movie Coven movie this week," because there's no way you would watch this movie on your own, which she's absolutely correct about, because she's correct about everything. And then after I nodded and said, yeah, of course, she asked, why didn't you watch it with me? Which is a really good question. And Tabitha apparently found that exchange so interesting that she shared it on social media when I mentioned it on last week's show. She also there suggests that I'm committing movie adultery on my wife by not watching Chocolat with her. But I want you all to know there are good reasons I don't watch most of the show's movies with my wife. And those reasons are very easy to list. Little Nicky, Hansel and Gretel Get Baked, Spellbinder, The Conjuring, Last Rites, Vibes, The Shadow, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Highlander, Race with the Devil. A lot of those were Richard-Lael's picks, and I want everyone to know that when we visited with Richard-Lael, my wife practically fangirled by her standards, completely charmed by the man. What you see is what you get. However, I will say that she is not charmed by his taste in movies. And then also, of course, there are movies we've watched like Velocipaster and Ouija Shark, which has made her absolutely terrified to meet Courtney. Because if Courtney loves those movies, there must be something wrong with Courtney, especially after I made my wife watch The Killing Tree, and I told her that Courtney loved that film. So, yeah, she's probably never going to meet Courtney. So when I watched Movie Coven movies with Ari, as I said, she has often and mostly reacted with horror. Take, for example, a movie most of us like, K-Pop Demon Hunters. I thought it was pretty good, and I still sing Golden under my breath from time to time. But Ari just did not care for it, and that's okay. But after that, I decided, because I love my wife, that I would shield her from the movies we watch on this show and leave her to inhabit the television world she truly loves. British shows about royals and cooking competitions. Things that I can read a book during and just sort of enjoy the accent from afar. But last week, though, after she was sad we didn't watch Chocolat together, I began to ponder. Maybe we should watch more of these movies with one another. Sensing a one-time interest in The Bride last winter, I giddily told Ari that we would be watching The Bride together this past Monday evening, and I thought it would be a bonding thing for us and our relationship. I mean, we love The Dark Knight. So this movie has Christian Bale in it. It was directed and written by Maggie Gyllenhaal, and she's the best of the Gyllenhaals, and we also like to support women directors. I thought that would be exciting. This was going to be a big win for both of us. A fun movie to watch on a Monday night. And then the movie started. It was clear early that she found the film's opening completely unnecessary, and as the movie went along, she burrowed deeper and deeper into her phone. Apparently, whatever new outrage of Trump's was less offensive than The Bride, and that's huge. After about an hour of the movie, I got up to do something, and I paused the film like you do. The time remaining flashed on the screen. We still had a whole hour to go. Ari's eyes filled with terror, and her next request sounded more like a plea. Can we watch something else? I looked at her, of course, with sympathy and understanding as a good husband, and said, of course, my love. And suddenly, using the remote control, we were whisked away to Woodstone Manor, a New England bed and breakfast filled with ghosts who do ridiculous things. It's a show that I love. Ari's eyes, now overflowing with gratitude, lifted up and away from her phone. Even the cholera ghosts in the basement were a welcome sight for sore eyes after an hour with the bride. But Ari taking a break from our movie this week did not translate to me not watching the entire film. I do my homework. And late yesterday afternoon, I settled in to watch the last hour of The Bride. With about 30 minutes left in the movie, the front door clicks open and Ari walks in. She immediately turned to me with a look of horror on her face. You are still watching this? I sheepishly said yes, adding that there were only 30 minutes left if she wanted to sit down. She then announced she was going to change out of her work clothes and reemerged 33 minutes later. That is the longest she's ever taken to change out of her work clothes. Moral of the story, I don't think we will be watching any more movie Coven movies together for at least 6 months, if not longer.
Beautiful as always. Beautiful. All right, Coven. All right, all our Coven members in the chat room. Now we vote. Now we vote. Wands up or wands down?
Do
Mine is
not
actually down.
put
Mine is
that thing upside down. Oh no!
Yeah, chameleon's down. Gladys is so mad she's gonna break some sticks while looking at people in their eyes. Look at how mad she is.
for how much I care about this film.
She's so mad.
Is that down, Richard-Lael?
I was looking for how much I cared about the film, and it is so minuscule.
All right, we've got a way down for Heather. We've got a live lizard going down for Courtney. We've got a way down for Jason. We've got a down this so down he can't find it. And I am down, but I've got a 5% up there because I stayed awake. And I like Annette Bening. And nobody talked about her. So everybody in the chat room, wands down so far down. Wands down for movie proof. Marriage is a workshop. Wands down. Has somebody up? One person up?
Tabitha's an up.
Oh,
Gladys does mean business. She doesn't mess around.
Yep. Tabitha's suspended for a while.
Angry auntie.
Tabitha, did you vote? Okay, up. Okay, Tabitha said up. Watch wrong movie. Well, that happened. Sorry, Robert.
No, you're lucky,
At least you didn't
Robert.
watch.
I am
At least
jealous.
you didn't do what I did and accidentally watch The Witch Who Came from the Sea.
Well, we may have. We don't know what he watched.
It might have been better than this. So
Anyway, we actually do not. Thank you guys for voting. Thank you guys for all your comments. Tell your friends, come back, like us, follow us, and all of the above. Now, next week, it's a mystery. What we're going to be watching is a mystery. You're going to have to go to our Facebook page and see, because we are waiting. A couple of us are not going to be able to be here, sadly, myself and Courtney. So we're waiting to see who our special guests are. So we don't even want to say what it's in between, right? We just want to say it's a secret, but you're going to have to go to the Facebook. If you don't know the Facebook page, it's called The Witches Movie Coven. We also have it on Instagram, right? Don't we have? Yeah, on Instagram. So somebody once decided we'll post it there. So you still have to watch the movie, whatever it is. And anybody have anything coming up in this next week or two they want to talk about before we go? Nothing.
Come see me at Pagan Unity Festival in June in Tennessee, starting on June 18th through the 21st.
Very good.
Oh, sorry. I will just jump in and say the schedule for Mystic South in Atlanta has been posted to Sked. If you're interested to see what's going to be going on, the 3 days of Mystic South, that's mid-July in Atlanta. So come on and look up in the website. We'll point you to it, as well as the Sked app if you've used that for other conferences. But it's there. Come join us.
Perfect. All right. I've got, again, nothing public like this in May. June, I've got Pacific Coast Paracon in Ventura, California, Creep It Real in Loretto, Pennsylvania, and my Texas Miracle Weekend in Dallas, Texas. But again, like us on our pages, follow us on our websites, and you can find out all the places. Yes, all my dolls are saying hi. Heather's dolls. We see some of Heather's dolls. Heather has more dolls than me, though. She does. If she's
not back here. I have 2 back here. There's another one. She's just behind me.
One up there. So, and again,
yeah,
you guys can
over here.
You can get your own goat, either a regular goat or a bling goat, a Black Phillip at mysterycontrol.com. Again, the QR code is right there. You can get t-shirts, you can get quotes, you can get all of the above. Every Black Phillip's just a little different.
My Black Phillip is a lot different.
Yeah. He's on your head. She's beautiful. Your new family member is beautiful, Courtney.
Thank you.
Guys, thank you for coming. It is that time. Thank you again for all your quotes. Witches, we do one thing. 1, 2, 3.